Ladies and gents, welcome back. It's another Wednesday. It's another 11 a.m. I'm here in the gym right now, which is cool. So you have an awesome background today. Let's get started.
Hi everyone. Today we want to chat about the spine and some common misconceptions when it comes to the position of the spine and strength training.
Yeah. Okay. So first things first. I think we have to consider the spine, but unfocus on it
Mm.
dramatically. So let's start at the beginning. Um, so as I write in the book, the main focus of training should be on your hips, on your pelvis, on the neutral pelvis. This will ensure that your spine is going to be fine. How come? The pelvis and the SI joint, the sacrum, is linked to the lumbar spine. That means as long as you keep your hip neutral, your lower back cannot move. Yes, you're right. Your upper spine between your shoulder blades can and shall move. So the main focus is the pelvis, although we're talking about mainly the spine today. So there's a misconception here that the natural position or the natural curve, the natural shape of a spine is the S curve, so to speak, right? Which is great. So that's the shape, that's the form that you have when you're standing, when there's no load on it. I'm all for it. I'm talking about your spine position and your spine shape when you're training. So under load. That's the only thing I care about. There's three hip positions that are directly correlated to your spine position. Two of them are unloaded and one is loaded. So the two unloaded is when you tilt your pelvis forward, your lower spine has that actual S curve happening, which is for going straight up and down, jumping, for example. You don't jump with a straight spine. It is meant to move. It is meant to move up. That's the most powerful position, and that's a position that should not be loaded, right? So that's perfect. The second position is when your pelvis tilts in the other direction, so backwards. That's for pooping in the woods. That's for a resting position, a paleo seat, however you want to call it. That's when you're in your deepest squat position. You literally want to relax your hips to get either number two going or have a chat or whatever you're planning on spending time down there. The third position is the neutral hip position, which is your hip in between tilted forward and backward. This is meant for being loaded. And this is the only position holding a sandbag, putting weight on your back, whatever you want to do. So that's the basic distinction. Now the question is, what about the rest of the spine when I lift? Let's think about lifting something off the floor. The biggest difference is we have to differentiate between stuff that you can hold in between your hands, which is what we've done for millions of years until 150 years ago. This sets you up perfectly. Whenever you grab a sandbag, squeeze it and lift it up, this is all you have to think about. Squeeze the sandbag, get it to your knees. That's it. Perfect position. This is how babies lift stuff up off the floor, etc. There's no point in maintaining your S spine shape and curve while lifting. How do I know? So when you set up in a perfect, quote unquote, perfect S-shaped position like this in a deadlift, what happens is at a certain threshold weight, your spine will move. That means your shoulders are going to come forward, your lumbar spine is going to straighten out. My point is, I think this is perfect. And the only thing we have to take care of is that this is not going to happen during lifting. So I want you to set up with a rounded upper back and a straight lumbar spine. I know these words sound horrific to you out there, which is fine. I only care about the results and you being pain-free and moving a lot of weight. The only thing, and I hope we can all agree on this, is there should be no movement in your spine under load. So whatever your starting position is, this is exactly the position that your spine should be in when you finish the movement under load. I hope we can all agree on this. This is the number one rule. However the position looks, when you lift the sandbag off the floor or whatever you want to lift off the floor, I can deal with it. I can work with that. And the only thing I'm going to make sure is through tension that position is not going to change from start to the end. Once your spine starts experiencing those shearing forces during lifting under load, this is where shit hits the fan. So whatever your crappy position looks like from the start. I'm going to maintain this position until you're finished. This is going to make sure your spine's not moving. So in the book, I describe it as the lifting form, the lifting shape of your spine is an ape shape, because the spine of apes have had a more straightish shape, and we developed by going bipedal and on 2 feet. Basically, we developed a better shape for walking and having more balance, but that's not needed for lifting weights. As you will see with the strongest people in the world lifting like this, when strongmen are lifting a stone, their upper back looks like this. This is not a bad position. A bad position is starting like this, finishing like this, or vice versa. Starting like this and finishing like this. This is when you fuck up your back. All power lifters start with a slightly rounded back. So that means the shoulder blades are out, the lats are fully on, and this is what they're going to maintain from the start to the finish position. This is what babies are doing, and this is what the strongest people on earth are doing. So I'll put my money on both of those groups, the toddlers and the really strong ones out there, and this is how we're going to teach spine positions in the gym.
Speaking of toddlers and strongmen, there is also that moment when you see a toddler picking up something heavy from the floor, that they shoot their hips up. But this again is something that we don't want when we have a barbell on our back, right? Because that's like, especially beginners tend to sometimes do that stripper-like thing where they push up their hips before the rest kind of comes up. Can you touch on that a bit?
Sure. So I'm not going to go into details about the deadlift because this is not a natural move. A natural movement is if I want to pick something up that fits in between my hands. Let's call it a sandbag. Sandbag is not a natural thing. You're right. Let's pick up a stone or a wheel off the floor. If it's light, you're just going to squat down, get your upper body as straight as possible, and it's just basically going to squat it up. That's what you do with light stuff. That's what toddlers do with light stuff when they're picking up a pencil or a piece of paper. This is what they're going to do because it's the least amount of effort they have to put into it. I've tested it on my son as well when he was, I think, 12 or 14 months old. He's fine, so it worked out. I gave him something light, and then I switched to something that he could not pick up at that time. Like I think it was a 20-kilo mat ball or something. So he tried to pick it up in the same manner, like squatting down, like hips low, chest up, and he couldn't lift it off the floor, right? Because it was too heavy. The next thing he did was he shot his hips up to get more hamstring engagement. So the hips are way higher now. The hamstrings are pre-engaged now, and he had an upper rounded upper back. And that's how he at least lifted it a couple of centimeters off the floor. No chance with the straight spine position. Much stronger and much more efficient using your hamstrings and your whole upper body to get that thing off the floor. So that's the problem with seeing stuff that's visually maybe not, I don't know, pleasant or stuff that we've learned. And I'm not denying the fact that you can fuck up your lower back by rounding it during lifting. You're absolutely right, and that's what I'm recommending. I'm saying the starting position you're in, shoot your hips up. I'm all for it. As soon as you move the weight, the position of your spine, the position of your hips shall not move under load. That's all I'm saying.
So how would you now progress one of your beloved normal people to go in their training with kind of like equipment wise or plan wise? How would you walk them through a session?
If you want to get rid of complicated stuff and thinking about progressions and weights and reps and sets and all that stuff, there's a very simple rule, which is you can use as much weight as you want, which you can fit in between your hands, that you can grip and squeeze. Because the cool thing is, stuff in between your hands will not move until you're strong enough. For example, take a sandbag, let's say it's your body weight, and you will see if it's going to come off the floor or not. The problem with the barbell is, I guarantee you can barbell deadlift your body weight way earlier and way faster than you can do with a sandbag, because it requires less tension in your body due to the unnatural nature of it. unnatural nature is kind of a redundant thing, whatever. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't deadlift. The thing is, you have to prep your body by lifting stuff that fits in between your hands, by learning position with tension, which creates rotation, and then you're going to get what you're looking for, which is torque and progress at the end of the day.
And to kind of take it back a bit, you mentioned the jumping versus loaded movements. Were those kind of like the different core muscles and, as you call it, the U shape and the six pack, where do those come in, also training wise?
Yeah, so that's a cool thing. If we start unfocusing on spine positions, focus on the neutral pelvis, and focus on certain rules that you have to obey, like stuff in between your hands, where your knees are, where your bones are, which muscles to use. This is now it gets interesting. Can you repeat the question one more time? I kind of missed the second part.
The U shape versus the six pack.
Yes. So the thing is, once you set up your body with position, attention, and rotation, the right muscles will engage. So what does that mean? If you have your neutral hip dialed in, that means your U shape, that means your lower abs and your obliques are going to work. I'm not saying automatically, but there's a high chance of it to work. If you tilt your pelvis, you're literally making it almost impossible for your obliques to work because your obliques are attached to the hip crease. And once you turn the hip crease, you're elongating that muscle, and the muscle, surprise, surprise, has a harder time contracting in that position. So, and vice versa. If you want to jump, you want to use your six pack because that's where the spring effect comes from. You're bending and you're extending. That's where literally the power comes from jumping. I want you to move your spine while jumping. I want you to use your six pack while you're jumping. I don't want all of that while lifting heavy. That's the only thing. So the cool thing is, if you learn position with tension, with the certain rules, there's the muscles will engage automatically that are designed to do most of the work, which are obviously bigger muscles rather than smaller muscles.
And what are your favorite exercises to teach those muscles how to engage?
You mean your obliques or?
Yeah, the obliques, but also like I fear that someone might hear this and might be like, oh, I gotta do crunches or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, or
Yeah.
sit-ups. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah.
So the cool thing is, by unfocusing on the spine, you can get rid of all whatever you want to call it, ab exercises, trunk work. You don't have to do any additional assistance work for your trunk. But of course, we're going to use it. So, for example, if you do a front track carry, there's no way you're not using your trunk while you're doing a front track carry. So I don't have to split up training in, okay, this is how I get stronger. This is how I get muscles to engage that I actually want to use. No, this is all the same thing. This is like mobility work, strength work, assistance work. This is all included in one exercise if you obey to the rules. Whether you use the templates, where you hold stuff in between your hands, it's not my invention. It's just how the body has learned to create the most amount of tension and torque possible with stuff in between your hands. You don't have to do sit-ups. On the contrary, you're gonna train more of your flexing and extending of your spine, so more of the jumping pattern, and you're not gonna make your core stronger for lifting heavy. It's actually the contrary. Of course, we have a tremendous trunk treat template where there's quote unquote trunk exercises in there, but not really, because the main focus is still getting the glutes in to get to the neutral hip, and then everything else aligns with the obliques on top of it. There's no exercise that makes sense for the obliques only. Yes, people will say like do side planks. It's a cool exercise, but what if we do an exercise where we also get the glutes in? So you have a 2-for-1 sale for less time, which is great. So focus on the hips, focus on the neutral pelvis, focus on the glutes. This will help you get your obliques in, and you can train both at the same time. This is how core stability should actually be trained. There's no point in training your trunk isolated. You should do it with your hips or with your shoulder in unison. That's what's basically in the tremendous trunk treat template, tongue breaker.
Before we finish the call, could you let people know where they can find the templates?
Sure. I'm the worst one to explain where that stuff actually is. I think it's on Instagram. I think it's on YouTube. I think we send it out via email. So whatever. If you have a question, if you want to get the template, just send me an email, greg@gregstream.com. Send us a DM on Instagram. It's out there. It's free. It's obviously also on the Traveling Circus. Just Google Greg's Traveling Circus and log into it, and you'll find it there. We'll send it to you. There's a lot of opportunities. Get them, try them. There's QR codes in there. There's explanations in there. Try them and let me know how it goes.
Yeah, that's it for today.
Cool, sweet. Great topic. Bring on the questions. I love answering them. Take care, guys. Get Grexy and unfocus on your spine, unfocus on abs, focus on your neutral hips, focus on your glutes, get your obliques together, and let's get lower back pain out of this world. See you next time.